Hey guys, what the heck is going on? Sam Cox here with Team Ropire and coming to y'all today with another video discussion over the metagame for GOAT format kind of going into 2021. Now we did something like this the other day on the channel and everybody seemed to really like it, and so I thought we'd do another one. We got a lot of great YouTube comments and a lot of people reached out to me over Facebook, and we got just we got a group chat with me and my friends, and a lot of us have been kind of talking about the exact same thing on what to do in this next video. And I've talked to some people at locals and everybody said the exact same thing, and it was kind of like, hey, I really like that video, but like, what about this card, or what about this deck? And a lot of the stuff that people brought to my attention, honestly, I just kind of forgot to cover it in the last video, because GOAT format is just such a wide format. But at the same time, there were a couple of cards and ideas and decks that I was like, oh, wow, yeah, I've been seeing that too. Cool. I'm glad that you've been seeing that. Got some validation that it's not just me seeing that. And the deck's actually doing pretty good. So that's some kind of stuff that we're going to talk about in this video. And yeah, we just got a handful of cards, handful of decks, and a lot of these cards are just kind of extras, but they kind of piggyback off the discussion of certain cards and decks at the same time. So if you guys want to check out the other video that we did a couple of weeks ago, I will link it down below in the description so y'all can check it out. And this is, I guess, part 2. I don't know if this is necessarily like a series or whatever, but you guys like it, so we're going to keep doing it. And as always, let me know down below in the comment section if there's any cards, decks, or anything that are just really kind of starting to take off in the current meta, because I would love to do more research into that and kind of do a discussion video and throw those cards in there. And just let me know if you guys want to see more stuff like this. I know that we have a lot of competitive people that watch the channel, a lot of people that play like retro formats very competitively, so I really hope that this is kind of shedding some light on some things that you guys need to know, and maybe kind of giving you some ideas or some decks that you want to try at the same time. But I guess just to kind of recap over what we had talked about in the last video, it's just really the reason why GOAT format's becoming so popular here recently. Obviously, a big reason is because of COVID, and all the modern Yu-Gi-Oh! Tournaments just aren't really happening. As for anything outside of like locals and online stuff, it's just not really going on. And modern Yu-Gi-Oh! Is just not what it was a year ago due to everything that's going on. But it's been great to see everybody kind of flock to GOAT format in the midst of all this just really shitty stuff that's going on. It's been cool to see something like GOAT format just kind of withstand like a pandemic, and I really feel like that's one of the attractive things to the formats. People are just like, hey, this format's not going anywhere. It's getting super popular, if anything. And even over the last 12 months, I mean, like modern Yu-Gi-Oh! Didn't have a Worlds or Nationals or anything, but I mean, GOAT format had a Worlds. So I guess let that sink in, and then things like Dueling Book are finally, they've got like rated GOATs, and so you can go ahead and play GOAT format online and be like, the best GOAT format player like on Dueling Book. And it's just really cool because people are looking at this more like a competitive format. I know that one of the reasons why people didn't really get into GOAT format was because they thought that it was just kind of for fun. But over the last year or so, it's been really cool to see the amount of people that have taken this format serious. And with all the people flocking to it, that just makes more people want to come to it also, because their friends are playing it, so they're like, I'm going to play it. And there's also so much content on YouTube and Facebook and everything else of people just getting into this format, and so more people want to be a part of it. And you see the same thing. I'm a musician, and for anybody that doesn't know me, I play music for a living, and I see the same thing in the music industry all the time. People are like, they see a certain artist doing something, and they creates a lot of buzz for themselves, and people are like, what's that artist doing? I want to be a part of that. I want to do what they're doing, and I want to listen to that artist because that's what everybody else is listening to. And it just kind of becomes a thing, and I really feel like that's what GOAT format has been doing. And like I said, I really think it's cool that the Yu-Gi-Oh! Community has kind of pulled together and started to kind of play this retro format, because it's shown that it's not going to go anywhere, and we can all still play, and we've taken it a step farther and even making it kind of a little bit more competitive. So it's been really cool. But another thing that we talked about is the fact that this is not a dying format by any means. It's got the same card pool, same ban list, but the meta and the popular cards and the popular decks definitely rotate in and out. What's popular right now might not be popular 6 months from now, and I can name a ton of decks that were popular last year that's not really seeing a whole lot of play this year. And we talked about how Chaos is kind of like the most represented deck like in the meta. I'd say probably like 70 to 80% of the competitive play that is going on is playing Chaos, and not just chaos, but we've seen it kind of get narrowed down to a certain form of chaos, like pitch chaos that plays like Thunder Dragon, Raigeki Break, Serpent, and things like Gravekeeper Spy, and just that kind of stuff. In maining like kaikus and tomatoes and that kind of stuff. But there's a problem with that, and that's really kind of where it starts to transition. And it's kind of what happens. It's kind of what's happened in the past too. Like people are starting to build decks that counter chaos because the chaos builds have really started to not deviate from each other. Meaning like you play 1 to 2 copies of this, 2 to 3 copies of this, and then you max out on copies of Spy, you max out on copies of obviously Thunder Dragon. Play 2 to 3 copies of Raigeki Break. Everybody kind of knows exactly what you need to be playing in that deck. And then so it's not hard to build a deck that can kind of counter that. And I guess we're going to skip down here just for a second. And Monarchs, for instance, that's a deck that I'm playing because I played Pitch Chaos for 6 to 9 months last year. And I just kind of got tired of it. But I played the deck so much that I know how to counter it. So I'm playing a very aggressive build of Monarchs right now that plays, things like Thessalos and Zaborg and Azure Priest, level 2 Swordsman, and kind of a little bit of go control in there, and it kind of makes it to where it's hard for your opponent to activate flip effects. And also the Monarchs are bigger than Chaos Sorcerer is, and also you can like destroy their face down monsters, rip cards out of their hand, hit that back row that they're using to like destroy your stuff. So it's just kind of a good counter. And not only that, but I've seen a ton of people start to watch this content. And I say that just because I know it for facts. Like here on the channel, we have a ton of like Monarch GOAT format content. And I go and look at the analytics every other week or so. And man, all the top content that people have been watching here recently, besides like the GOAT format metagame discussion, is like, Monarch replays and, just like deck profiles and stuff. So just from an insight, don't tell anybody I said this, but just from an insight, people are watching a crap ton of Monarch stuff, and there's been a lot of people that I've been playing against online that have been playing Monarchs as well. And it kind of started with, people playing Zaborg in the Chaos because like it's light and it kind of helps out things like, Spy. And we went over this last video, but I feel like a lot of people just switched over to playing full-on Monarchs because I've seen so many Thessalos and so many Mobius and all that stuff here recently, more than I have a couple weeks ago. Even since we made the video that we made a couple weeks ago, I've seen so many people play Mobius and so many people play Thessalos and Soul Exchange and stuff. It's been pretty cool. We might see a slight shift in the meta and see a lot more people play Monarchs because it's just a good counter to Chaos and that kind of stuff. And who knows, maybe in 6 months Monarchs could be like the #1 deck people are playing, and Chaos might just sit on the bench for 6 months. You never know. It's just, like I said, one of those kind of rotating formats. So it's really, really cool. It's cool to kind of see the, the shift. But with all that being said, Chaos, like I said, is very popular. So Mind Control is becoming a very popular card in the main deck. And so many aggressive decks are playing this. And also just, man, I've seen Go Control just kind of tech this in at 1, 2, kind of max out on it. I feel like 2 is a good number if you're going to main it. I wouldn't really main it. I'd side it and maybe just, eat shit game 1 if you can't see it, if you're playing against Chaos. But maining Mind Control is just kind of a weird thing to do. But, some people do it, and you know what? I could be completely wrong. It works for a lot of people. But what this card does is target 1 monster your opponent controls until the end phase, take control of that target, but it cannot declare an attack or be tributed. Okay, so what that does is you can't tribute it for things like Monarchs, but you can take their face down monster, and you can, like abuse their Magician of Faith, their Dekoichi, Mask of Darkness, their Gravekeeper Spy, their, all that kind of stuff. And it doesn't matter if it's face up, face down, whatever. You can still attack that turn. And, so it's got some of the benefits that, like Soul Exchange, you can't really attack. And then, like Brain Control has to be face up. You have to pay life. Enemy Control, you have to have a monster on your side of the field. Like, if your opponent activates Pot of Greed, sets Faith, you can just main phase 1 and steal it with Mind Control. Also, Mind Control can target their Chaos Sorcerers and BLS and stuff and just banish another monster on their side of the field or banish itself. So that's a really kind of cool thing to do. I side this card at 2. I think playing 3 of it might be kind of, I don't know right now, because the fact that it's so popular, people kind of can figure out, if you're going to be playing that card. Like if you activate 1, they're on watch. Like they're going to be really super skeptical about what they set. Like after I activate 1 Mind Control, somebody else is going to set Tomato, Tsukiyomi, like, you know, Sangan, Serpent, something that mind control does nothing against except for go -1 for myself, for myself for the turn. So what I like to do is I can get off scot-free on the first mind control, take their Dekoichi, whatever, but on the second one, you know, like I said, I only sat in 2. On the second one, what I would advise to you guys is to use the second one on a Chaos Monster. So if you can add a flip effect and you can add a Chaos Monster with 2, then that's good, because they're always going to summon the Chaos Monsters. I mean, they have to. It's a Chaos deck, you know. They're not going to summon it in fear of mind control, because it's really hard to win most of the time. I say most of the time, you know, with Chaos without summoning in Chaos Monsters. So mind control, it's being mained. A lot of people are citing it. It's just a card we're seeing because this is kind of a counterproductive. I'm sorry, not counterproductive. It's a card that is becoming very productive due to Chaos. And there's also, you know, there's cards that are, you know, absolutely counterproductive, I guess you'd say, on the other side of that due to Chaos being popular. Like zombies are seeing like no play right now because they just eat shit to, you know, Chaos Sorcerer and BLS and stuff. So, but yeah, so mind control is definitely super popular right now due to the amount of Chaos running around. Now, we're going to talk about Cyber-stein real quick. Cyber-stein is kind of the I guess you'd say common denominator of the next 2 decks that I'm going to talk about. And they're kind of the same deck, but just with different engines, kind of in the same thing. And this was something that I'd seen online here recently, and people were, you know, kind of playing it here and there. But it's something that's becoming extremely, extremely, extremely relevant, because I feel like this can be a good counter to Chaos, and people are kind of playing it because if your opponent can't stop it, then, man, it's super hard to, like, oh man, stop this deck once it gets going. So what people will do is they'll activate Cyber-stein, and then they will summon King Dragoon, and then they'll special summon, you know, like one of these or whatever. You could skip the 4 and go to the 6 if you got it in your hand, and then very shortly after that, you can bring out Horus level 8. And whenever this thing is out, and this thing at the same time, it's almost GG in almost every scenario, like, because you can't activate spells, they can just negate it, and then you can't target this level 8 guy because you know, this card says you can't. King Dragoon says you can't. So it's just kind of crazy. That combo is like super cool, and I've seen a lot of people, you know, play that combo with not only like Cyber-stein that you can search with Tomato. You know, just keep that in mind. But they also use things like Metamorphosis and Fusilizer Dragon, which is super cool. And if they're playing this, then they're going to go ahead and play Last Warrior also because it's a level 7. But I've seen some people that haven't played the Dragon build. They're only playing like Last Warrior for some reason. I mean, I don't know. I feel like that build's not really very consistent compared to like the Horus build. So I'm just, you know, telling you guys right now, the level 8 Horus / you know, King Dragoon combo, that is something that you guys need to be on the watch for, because it is very, very, very good. And if you do not play correctly against it, you will lose. It doesn't matter if you're playing Chaos or not. Like, if you can play the best version of Flip, Turbo, Thunder Dragon, Spy, Raigeki Break, Chaos, and you'll get your ass handed to you by this card. So just be on the lookout for that, because it's becoming a very, very popular deck. And not only that, but I was looking at the prices of just like, you know, ultis for this and secrets for this online the other day, and they've tripled in the last month. So people are buying these cards, people are playing these cards. So in real life and, you know, just kind of online. So one other card that I want to talk about is Creature Swap. Creature Swap is becoming extremely popular. Just because there are other cards, again, that are becoming popular. And we talked about this in the last video and briefly in this video, where decks or cards become popular. Therefore, other decks and cards become popular because they have to, you know, either go with that deck or they counter that deck. So Creature Swap is great because people are playing things like Tomato. Tomato's good because it searches Spy. It's good because it searches Cyber-stein. It's good because it searches Sangan that gets the Serpent that uses for Raigeki Break. So Creature Swap is very, very great. But that also kind of feeds into, like, you can Creature Swap with any of the things that Tomato searches technically. But also on that, like, things like Azure Priest are becoming very popular for a couple of different reasons. Because aggro is popular right now, because if you're, you know, when Chaos gets popular, aggro gets popular to play against it. And Azure Priest is just one of those cards that people play in aggro. Azure Priest is also a card that people are playing in Chaos because it's a light. Azure Priest is a card that people are playing against Scapegoat because Mimic Chaos is a thing. And last but not least, Azure Priest is being played in Monarchs because it is absolutely amazing against Monarchs. And Azure Priest is probably not going to go anywhere anytime soon, as long as, you know, Monarchs is, you know, starting to become a thing because it's good in the main in monarchs, and it's a great side card against monarchs because it makes it to where your opponent can't really steal your stuff. So creature swap is great if you have things like Azure Priest, Tsukiyomi, you know, summon it, creature swap, these go back to your hand, and then with creature swap and these, obviously whenever these go to the grave, you know, they get you more things back to your hand, or they special summon things to the field. So that's, you know, something that I would highly keep your eye on for sure, because creature swap can really just kind of kick your ass if you don't plan for it. One thing that I want to point out, Ring of Destruction is a very, very odd interaction with creature swap. Look more into that, but what I want to say is if your opponent activates creature swap and you have either one of these two cards on the field, then you can out your opponent's creature swap because you can chain scapegoat, give them one of your tokens, or you can creature swap like Call the Haunted, and if you're lucky enough to have any of these three in your grave, give them, you know, something like this card, because that will pretty much make it to where their creature swap just did not do them shit. You can't do these because they're spirit monsters, they can't be special summoned from the grave. But just a quick note, you know, if your opponent activates creature swap and you have these, then that's a good out for it. So Lightning Vortex is very interesting. We've seen a ton of people play Lightning Vortex, not only in like Crane Gate, Reasoning Gate decks, but people are starting to kind of main a copy of this in Chaos. I mean, it's always been a great card in Chaos, but it kind of a little bit more now than ever. I've seen people play like 3 Raigeki Break and 1 Lightning Vortex because a lot of people are kind of overextending right now, and yeah, it's really, really making it pretty good. In 2002 format, if you guys are familiar with that, like people play Raigeki Break, I'm sorry, not Raigeki Break, Raigeki and Dark Hole and stuff, and if you have 2 monsters on the field and you go neg 1, it just really hurts. And that's just really simplified Yu-Gi-Oh! But it's kind of the same with this. Like Lightning Vortex is becoming popular, you know, with like face-up spies and that kind of stuff, and people are just maining it in Chaos because usually their opponent's going to be playing, you know, Spy with Chaos. So, and we've already talked about, you know, the Thessalos and you know, Zaborg, and Grandmarg is kind of seeing some play. It's better in different formats, and not formats, rotations, I guess you'd say. Mobius is okay. These two are the best right now, in my opinion, because your opponent's always going to have cards in their hand, and if they don't, then you're winning. And then your opponent's pretty much always going to have like a set monster or like a big problematic monster, like something like Chaos Sorcerer on the field. So, you really want to try to get your opponent's back row with these, but as of right now, all the back row is chainable. We've seen Jar of Greed see like a ton of play here recently. Raigeki Break again is seeing a ton of play, and you know, obviously things like Ring of Destruction and Solemn Judgment has become like really, really big here recently too. So these aren't as good, but still viable. Just better in certain rotations and stuff. But anyway, yeah, so the main things that we really wanted to cover was, like I said, Mind Control. Be on the lookout for that. Main a copy or two. I mean, I don't know. This one's just kind of a weird. It's an amazing side card. It's arguably the best side card right now. Cyber-stein, if you see this card, get ready to fucking pay attention because you're going to lose if you do not out this combo before it gets out. It's just kind of crazy. So yeah, Mind Control, Cyber-stein, creature swap, be ready to see a lot of this. Be ready to see a shit ton of Azure Priest. I have a feeling Azure Priest is going to be extremely popular, especially like over the next few months. It's very popular right now, but it's, you know, going to be even more popular, I have a feeling. So Lightning Vortex, if you're playing the Spy Chaos Mirror match, this might stop you in your tracks if you're trying to overextend too much or think that you're in the clear since your opponent already activated like Torrential, but you've got like 3 face-up spies on the field and your opponent's tribes in the grave, and you're like, okay, cool, these guys are safe. Your opponent might have a Lightning Vortex, so just like, you know, be wary of that for sure. But yeah, anyway, guys, I really appreciate y'all watching. Feel free to let me know down in the comments what you guys think, and we might do a part 3 on this, and I'll get more in depth on part 3, like, you know, like I said, on things like Jar of Greed and a bunch of other cards that are just seeing a ton of play that I probably should have added to this one. But anyway, we'll see y'all next time, and thanks y'all for watching.